sat on that call, and there was about 100 total people were on that call. And it was just more of getting feedback. And it was a lot of elementary parents that were talking about the November 9th to start the hybrid. And we do have a meeting tomorrow at 8:30, a district leadership meeting, and for more discussion on the feedback of that meeting and kind of where the district is, because I know there's a lot of questions on elementary going back November 9th in a hybrid model, and then secondary going back January 26th. And, you know, we are monitoring those numbers closely. And everywhere you're turning around, the numbers are going up. And we're just kind of being careful on kind of what our next steps are. And I do believe, in all honesty, and I know as a parent myself, I do believe that, you know, we are taking it a little bit slow, but I think we're doing it the right way as a district. And I would say I'm not afraid to speak my mind, but I think this is the way it should be for right now, and make a good, solid decision based on the facts and the data and what the county zip codes are showing us. So that's kind of the whole district picture. Getting some interesting feedback from parents on a couple of things. And one was the communication and the newsletter that we've been sending out on Fridays. And for the most part, it's been very positive, and they're like, yeah, this is really good. And then some people say, I read the first 3 paragraphs and then I'm done. And so we're trying, and I kind of took that as if we're putting too much information in one document, or is it good for parents to come back and forth and look at their leisure? But you know, I'm looking for a little feedback on that, if there's anything we need to improve on that communication piece. But big thing is we're wrapping up the first quarter, November 6th, and we'll have a conference date. I can't remember the conference date off the top of my head. I think it's November 23rd, maybe. But conferences, again, well attended on the first round. But other than that, I just, I'm really pleased with our attendance from our students, our engagement. If you haven't noticed, that we are trying to tell our students to turn their cameras on. And because, just as an example, in this past week, I've had 5 formal evaluations where I sit in a classroom for about an hour and observe the teacher and the interaction with the students. And in one class, there was 24 students, and all 24 had their cameras off. And I will say this, it is intimidating, in my opinion, as a teacher, when you're teaching in a new system and you can't see the kids you're trying to teach. But I understand that we want to be respectful of families, and we want to be respectful of kind of what that may look like in other people's households. But we're just saying, if you can and you want to, please turn your cameras on. And we're trying to just have our students, so our, you know, a couple of teachers are saying, I'm teaching kids, 9th graders right now, I've never seen their face, except when I look on campus, because that's their school picture. So spread the word. I know it was in our newsletter, and we had an advisory lesson this past Wednesday, just kind of telling our students, turn that camera on. But other than that, that's about it. You know, when we're just kind of wrapping up, some of our cross-country team won the section, which was really impressive. It was really cool. Our debate team is doing awesome. And, you know, we have small activities going, really doing well. And I'm just being honest with you, we want our kids back. Building. We just want to make sure we do it the right way and it's safe for everybody. But I can't wait till we get rid of this distance learning. I'm just being honest. I didn't sign up for this. I just have to engage with people face to face, but we just got to do it the right way. So I'm going to leave it at that. And if we have questions or concerns, I'm all ears.
I would just say that I like the fact that you put information out there. I think it's always more information better than less. So any information the school puts out, in my opinion, is always the overkill than underkill. And just so that if they want to read it, they have it there instead of having to search and find other places to get it. It's much better coming from the school itself than secondhand or hearsay information.
Yep.
And so I'd keep doing that. And then how do you think the sports, music, theater, all those things are working out? Is it through all this? Has it been doing all right?
Yeah, it's been going okay. I mean, it's just not what we want, but it's what we are right now. And then, you know, we had a fantastic virtual showing of Little Women, and it was well done. Again, our students were awesome. Directing was great. And we are starting our music. Teachers have put in a plan for that after November 9th, that if we have the opportunity to bring students in, as an example, for music and practice social distancing and practice so they could in a bigger space so that they can do it together. We are looking at that. They did submit a plan and it was approved. Now we're working on transportation pieces that students that don't have transportation we might be running activity buses. Our students, you know, we're looking at pieces for that right now. And the other option would be that they send us their name and ID number and we submit it to the bus company, and the next day they pick them up. It's a real in the rough edges, so I hope I'm making sense, but it would only happen on Wednesdays right now because that's our Falcon focus. And we don't want to do it on other days because they would miss class time in the transportation piece. But that's the plan, is starting to get kids back social distancing if they need to or want to. We will not require students to come in. But is there a need? Science teachers have talked about doing labs live or in person, small groups. That is a possibility. So in general, the athletics and the activities is going well. We had a little scare for the football team a couple of weeks ago. And we did follow the MDH protocol on the COVID guidelines. And we did lose a game, but we are now, you know, and they've done a great job of doing the social distancing, but, you know, and we did a great job of contact tracing it back, and it was a small group and everything worked itself out. And that's why we reinstated it after that first game we missed. So it's going okay.
I had another question. The seniors this year, obviously last year, that spring, the senior class missed out a lot of things. This year, this year's seniors, not only did they miss last spring, they're missing out this year as well. And they're even having a less of a high school experience than anyone else would. Is there stuff that we can do as a school that really can start utilizing community or activities, or just come up with some senior things just for the seniors, or for the whole school I guess as well, but particularly at the school, this is their last year. They miss, you know, homecoming, all these different things they miss, seeing their friends, you know, they don't get you know, it's very hard. I know some are meeting together on Wednesdays on their own and just kind of hanging out during some stuff, lunchtime and things. But is there anything on the plan or works that the school is doing to come up with some creative ways for the community to happen?
Yeah, and we've talked about that, and our hope is that we are coming back on January 26th where we can start working on pieces of that. But we've talked about, like, there's been no homecoming. So can we do a snow days? We do the snow days thing, and then can we do a spring homecoming? Or we do something, you know, we are, you know, trying to be mindful about the protocols. So we talk a lot about things, and we talked about, if we can't have kids in all year, can we bring in the seniors? Because it's their last hurrah. And that's on our radar. It's in real small discussion. To be honest with you, Reed, we are working to get ready for January 26th on a hybrid model. And the work is pretty daunting to get it organized safely and effectively. And I mean, we just got our ventilation system pieces back, that our rooms passed all but 4. And we are, you know, within the next few days, those will be fixed. So are the proper ventilation. So that's safety measures. We can cross that off our list. But yep, we have it on our radar. because we're very aware the kids are losing a lot, and we get it. And our freshmen never been in our building, except for maybe pictures and to pick things up. You know, they haven't even walked it, and that's like sad. I mean, it makes me sad as a parent. And we need to get that going, but we're going to do it the right way, the right time. And when the numbers tell us we can do that.
Mr. Norby, Jocelyn had some feedback about cameras on, cameras off she wanted to offer.
So I talked to my kids about that. Because it was being talked about. So my son always has his camera on, but he thinks that some of the reasons some kids might not want to have their camera on is they're maybe have not good self-esteem about how they look, and they don't want, it's not about the teacher seeing them, it's more about the other students seeing them. And he wondered if there is a way that the teacher could see everyone and the students wouldn't see each other.
And yeah, we asked that same question, and as of right now, we don't have that capability. You know, but we're aware of that we're, you know, it's about students and if they're having a bad hair day. I mean, it's the same thing. You know?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I remember being that young, and I would have worked if I had a zit or something, you know, out there, and they're all looking at each other, you know, and the more people that have their camera off, the more likely you are to be seen by the other students.
Yeah.
So I think that was the main thing, but I totally understand the teacher's perspective. They don't want people to come to school and they have no idea who these kids are because they've never seen them.
Yeah. Yep. And that's, you know, and it's just like, it's just something that teachers are missing out on, is that interaction with the kids, you know, face to face. And, you know, and that's a big thing for teachers, and it's same thing for kids in other ways. That social aspect is gone right now.
Do you think there might be any issues with bandwidth? Because I know if everyone's camera is on, that can make it worse.
I think we're okay. We struggled with that bandwidth last year when we first went out in March, but I think we have that capability now, because I mean, I have staff meetings and I have 170 people on there, and we're going, and it's fine. But I get it if we had, you know, a majority of our students with that. It'd be interesting, and I would love to see it crash, and that's the reason why, because that means at least our kids tried.
Yeah.
Other questions?
So, I think you're caught up on the questions, but I do have a question, and this has been on my mind a lot and there was an article recently in the paper, and now that we don't have the students in the building, how are our guidance and our social work team, that whole team, how do they connect with, how are we helping our students that are mobile and food insecure and home insecure?
Great question. Sorry, I have a yellow lab puppy that has to go in and out like 5 times while I'm on the Zoom, sorry. So we have our grade level meetings that happen at minimum once a week, and then the counselors and our support staff have another meeting. And within that grade level meeting is we look at students, and we do this during, if we were in session or when virtual. And it's our social worker, our psychologist, our counselor, our principal, and our academic support team, and our cultural, our climate and culture specialist. And we literally go through the roster of 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. And we look at the academics, the behaviors, and attendance. Any students that's struggling with that, the grade level team will make a connection in some capacity, see if there's no internet at home, or, you know, they need food, like you said, or housing. And if any of the social pieces are there, or the reason if they're not engaging. So that's weekly. And that's twice a week. The grade level team meets once, and then the counseling and the social workers meet at a different meeting. And I've been very clear with these teams, and I've met with them. And ninth grade is the biggest, but we have the bar program where the kids are teamed together in the core. And that works really well. And this is our second year with bar. But it is an expectation, and that if student is struggling, that they are in contact with the families, parents, the students, and making sure what we can do to offer supports. We also, tomorrow we're having, in our newsletter will be some mental health information that families can, free services, and also some that with People Incorporated that works out of Armstrong, that families can get all kinds of help, mental health issues for their student or for them for their families. So they have been really working hard, and these spreadsheets are full of students with, if there are concerns, and we're checking back with them, checking with their teachers. And it's an expectation that every student that may be in that struggling phase, that we're making connections.
Okay, I have one more question on that theme, and this is one that can get deferred to the next meeting, but it's a question that, so for teenagers who are homeless, who do not have an active family support system, so it's not a homeless family, but it's a homeless teen who is possibly couch hopping. Can we talk at a future meeting about what resources our families can provide? How do the families in our community who are able to provide support, how and if we can provide that, how do we identify ourselves?
That's a great question, topic, and that would be something we could bring in our counseling and our social workers in a next APA meeting and talk about that. We have a great resources, and the big thing is, if you can spread the word, is that if we get word of a family in crisis or in need, no matter what it is, if it's a housing, food, clothing, unemployment, something, our social workers and even our psychologists really get into that, and they will help the family and get those free resources. We have a lot of those, and I think that put on the agenda, like you said, for the next meeting, and we can bring in them, and they can talk about what that looks like.
Because I think of how many families like myself are sitting here with 2 empty beds and stable internet.
Yeah.
And I recently met a student who was at Armstrong 3 years ago and didn't graduate from Armstrong because her dad was in a shelter, and that was her parent, and it was a men's only shelter. And so, and I think, oh my gosh, I mean, she knew my boys. I'm a quarter mile from school.
Yeah, that's a tough thing. And the big thing is, I would spread the word as families, is that if you hear something, it's not, if you contact, and on our website, we have our grade level counselors and principals.
Mm-hmm.
You drop a line, either phone call or email. We don't ever give up that information that we got this
Right.
from Leslie.
Right.
It's about, we just want to make sure you're okay.
Right. And for me, it's I didn't know. I mean, she's fine now. I didn't know then. I'm thinking,
Right.
how, you want to figure out how do you provide that couch and that internet, like now when they're not even in the buildings interacting with the students who can actually support them.
But I think we should look at that next meeting, and that sounds like a newsletter thing that might be coming out. Give us some information, then we can talk about it. That's a good idea. I like that.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, one quick question here. I don't know if there's any other ones before we move on, but Eric, is there a system in place in which the school can identify kids that have greatly reduced grades? So let's say you were here in the winter or a year or two, and then one spring, and you got all Fs or Ds, and then you come in the fall and you're normally A student, but you're getting, again, Ds and Cs, you might not want to reach out, but a lot of people are, you know, like, I learned better in person. And so we're not meeting in person, and those kids are getting further and further behind. Is there a way that they can be tagged, and then also a way in which they can have some one-on-one teaching or something so that they don't get further and further behind?
Yeah. Well, that's a part of our grade level meeting that we have every week. And I made it very clear, and it's a program that I ran at Cooper when I was an assistant principal, and this is kind of, we're kind of using the blueprint that a kid should not slip through the cracks more than one quarter, and we'll catch them. And I said, and I've told them very clearly that if a kid gets farther and without contact, we can't always motivate the kid or the family, but if there's no help from the school where we're doing a house visit or, you know, or having a conference or having one-on-one, that's on us, and that can't happen. Right now, we have not brought in any families in crisis or students face-to-face or in our building yet. And we're trying to look at that November 9th date of when we can really start doing some more of that face-to-face that we're good at and what we've done in the past. Right now, it's been virtual. And I'll say this, there's probably right now I know of about 45 students and families at Armstrong that we're working with closely in crisis, you know, unemployment, food, housing, whatever. And it's virtually right now. And we've had actually our social workers have been doing home visits, you know, but not entering the home, but going to see with their permission and talking and going through that. So we're trying, but we're going to keep going that route and we catch those kids. And it better not be more than that, because I get a little crazy about it.
Thanks. Anyone else have a quick question before we move on?
Yeah, I just put a question of Arnie's in the chat.
I can't see it.
It says, when do you decide if we will go back to school on January 26th? Is there a deadline date you have to decide by?
So it's kind of a tricky question. So here's what I'll say then, is that they did come up with a date, and I can't remember when it is, and it's really December. But I'm going to tell you this right now, that we will work with any family and make sure that your student gets what they need. If they learn better and you want them in a hybrid, we're going to do that. And if you feel that distance, it's not safe right now, we're going to help you get there. The deadline is in December. I got to figure, I'll see if once I'm done talking, I'll see if I can find that date and answer the question. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But
thank you, Mr. Norby. The
yeah,
other thing,
and just quickly on that is we've had between Armstrong and Cooper and Highview, we have just under 390 students that have applied or put their name in for straight distance learning. So in Armstrong, we have about 210 kids that have said they're going to go that route for the year. So just information for you. Sorry, go ahead.
and so then everybody else wants to go back to school full time.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering if you got that. Good, great, thanks.
Okay, well, if you have any other questions, obviously you can get a hold of Mr. Norby directly. Let's move on to our guest speaker. Mr. Norby, thanks again so much for sharing with us. I appreciate your time.
Yep, absolutely, Reed. And just anybody, spread the word. Any questions, concerns, call, email me, or any of the principals. We're here to support any family, anybody, anytime. And if they don't get a hold of you, or if I don't return your call, you keep harassing me, because we will call you back. And if we don't, I want to know. So thank you, everybody. And I'm going to listen to Slauson. I want to hear what he has to say tonight.
Okay.